And a phrase that I've been thinking about recently and using recently is this idea of B to Y, in that we often hear about these really pretty stories, these really colorful stories about, hey, this is where we were and this is where we got to, very much like A to Z type stuff. And I'm always curious to understand more about the middle stuff, like the maybe not as sexy stuff, the grind, as you mentioned, the B to Y of CHARLESGATE. And I'm curious if you'd be willing to dive in a little bit more to that when it comes to getting through '08 and kind of moving into like this new phase of CHARLESGATE, which you have obviously grown into quite a bit to this day. What, again, if you're willing, what did that look like, and kind of what did it take to get there?
Yeah, I mean, what are you're telling me that I didn't have a full thought out plan that was perfect from 2008 to 2020 now? I mean, look, I think fundamentally what it comes down to us for us is to rely on your fundamental beliefs as a business owner, and know that what we're trying to do. So for us, what always is most critically important is we want to take care of our people. We want to be an employee first organization, and that was the basis of a lot of our decisions at the time in 2008, and then going forward. And then I think the other critical piece is having not necessarily an exact perfect strategy or framework for where you're going to go from today, as you say, A to Z, but have a framework that you can use to base decisions that you have to make in real time and adjust to market conditions. And so you can go from B to C, maybe to E, and then maybe back to D, and then maybe to whatever, hopefully eventually
Hmm.
somewhere around Z. But I think for us in detail, it was just really when the volume of sales dropped off, our revenue sort of went off a cliff pretty quickly there, right, at the end of '08. And we had to figure out how to, because at the time we were also generating, doing like a lot of lead generation. That kind of talks about how we were thinking about marketing at the time, like a lot of lead generation marketing for our agents, and building, helping them build their revenue through a lead gen or a company marketing program. So that stuff obviously was in serious decline at the time, and just the general demand in the market had dried up considerably. So we just were like, what can we possibly do to get business? No forethought, no like big strategy. It was like, okay, there's like a lot of banks are taking over properties. Let's try to reach out to the banks and figure out, hey, how can we work with you guys? We know how to sell properties. You guys have properties to sell. Let's do that. And then they're like, well, also you have to take care of this property. And we're like, well, I have no freaking
Hmm.
idea how to do that. So we had to sort of figure out, well, hire some maintenance guys on the fly, hire some other people that would work with us to manage and maintain properties that were oftentimes in disrepair. So you're going you're going into properties that are oftentimes a mess when they get to that state where they're bank owned and have been left in disrepair, and oftentimes difficult to deal with areas, whether it's high crime area or otherwise. And so all these things we're just learning on the fly, and I think that's the big thing for us, is have that growth mindset, knowing that we can figure out what we have to do next. But all out of all that learning, that's for really a kind of a 2 or 3 year period. We were heavy in the foreclosure maintenance and
Mm.
management business, and selling business, and that was just tons of learning. We're like, well, if we could do this for these really super difficult properties, there's no reason why we can't actually really dive into the management business and do that in a more robust way and build a real solid management platform from there. So it was not that we hadn't thought of entering management business, 'cause we were getting a lot of requests, but we had put it off and put it off and put it off because we didn't want to do it till we did it right. But then just by the nature of what happened after '08, we were sort of forced to rapidly go into it. And that's one of the things that was, serendipitous in a way, even though it was a very difficult time for us, that led to us building this, later building this management platform. So that's one example, for instance, that was without a lot of foresight, so to speak, but just adjusting and adapting on the fly to figure
Yeah.
things out.